Hello Vine community, I'm back to do a recent Vinyl Finds video. And if you haven't seen my review of Tom Petty and you like Tom Petty, check that video out. But this is a recent Vinyl Finds. I have a stack here. I did this video, but it was like 20 plus minutes long, so I'm gonna try to do it again, but a little bit quicker. First of all, Freddie, thank you so much for the deal that we made with these 4 records. The first Peter Gabriel records, 45 RPM, half speed master, just sounds fantastic. And the 4th record, I just listened to this now, blows my mind. Sound quality wise, just fantastic. I actually sold my original presses of my Peter Gabriel records. I had original Swedish or Scandinavian presses of them. But I don't need anything more than that now. So, and playing in the background is the Stalker soundtrack to the Tarkovsky film. I go back to that record now and again. It's really good, atmospheric as a mother. But records, it's a mixed bag between psychedelic, pop, rock, and obviously jazz. Seems like I'm almost only listening to jazz nowadays. Really resonates with me. The first one is High Fly by Karin Krog and Archie Shepp, released in 76 on Compendium Records. So that's that. The only other person that I know from the session is Arild Andersen. But talking a little bit Swedish. Men nu ska vi se här vad vi har mer i påsen. Contemporary Records, Norwegian label, has that very good looking label. Karin Krog was a Norwegian jazz vocalist, the Norwegian equivalent to Monica Zetterlund, I guess, maybe. And she did this session in Norway with Archie Shepp. It's really good. It's like Archie Shepp's music and Karin Krog's fantastic, very dominant voice over this almost a little bit freer jazz. I really like this fantastic record. I checked it out digitally before I decided to jump on it. Really liked it. Another one that's been stashed in my basement is this one. It's also Karin Krog, but with a Swedish pianist called Nils Lindberg. The Malmö Sessions is this called. A Swedish product with Danish Nils Henning Østed Pedersen. And you also have Bernt Rosengren from Sweden playing a tenor saxophone on this one. 1977. And also a vocal jazz record, but a lot nicer, and not my cup of tea, but it has some beautiful songs, so it's going into the record collection now with Karin Krog. And talking about Bernt Rosengren, the Swedish master on tenor saxophone, I also got myself a copy of Fly Me to the Sun from 1971 by Bernt Rosengren on Gazelle Records. Looks like that. And this is, I don't know if it's a hidden gem, but I really enjoyed this record. If you like Swedish jazz, check it out. I mean, Bernt Rosengren is famous for improvisationer and maybe most notably Notes from the Underground that he did with these kind of, I think it was Turkish musicians. On this one you have Tommy Koverhult on tenor and flute, Torbjörn Hultkrantz on bass, and Leif Wennerström on drums and piano. Just a spontaneous, feels almost improvised session from 1971. And it also says here on the liner notes that it's like a spur of the moment kind of recording. You can't do this again in another time. It's just then and there. Now this lineup of personnel also did most of the stuff that Don Cherry recorded and released here in Sweden. between 70 and 74, 75, I guess. Organic Music and those records. So I can't say that I hear the Don Cherry sound on this. This is more a Bernt Rosengren production. But it's kind of cool that it's the same lineup. Also got myself a very early copy of Nico's Chelsea Girl. I've been after a early copy of this for a while now. I had the Four Men with Beards reissue, and that's going in the trash now because it sounds terrible. This sounds fantastic. Released in 1967 or 68. This is a 1971 UK second press on MGM. And how you notice it's a second UK press instead of first, you have a boxed comment here marked by Polydor, and that is a dead giveaway for the second press, which was not on the first. Yeah, fantastic. The UK press was released in 1971, not in 67 or 68 when the US version was released. So it's the same year for the UK press, but the second. And that's a classic. I mean, shit, Chelsea Girl, what a record. But even better is Desert Shore. Released 1970. This is once again a second UK press from 1974 on the Reprise label. And the dead giveaway here is the textured sleeve. You have a textured sleeve on the UK second press, not the first. I may be mistaken here, but I've tried to do the research. So that's the dead giveaway. There's some other variations on the sleeve and on the label, but that's the most common. The textured sleeve. Music-wise, fantastic. Chelsea Girl is organized product from the time. Now, Desert Shore, in my opinion, is more of a Nico release, a John Cale and Nico release, where they could really soar and do their thing with the record. It's much more interesting. It's much more experimental. You get more of Nico and Nico's voice. So if I have to decide on one of the records, I go for Desert Shore. Check it out. But the record, those two I bought from a Swedish seller, along with this one. This was the one that I was going for. Yeah, sometime ago now, Derek did a video of Psychedelicatessen, I think he was calling it, highlighting one record that a psychedelic record that he thought should being brought up to light, and he showed this. Fillmore Lincoln, The North Wind Blew South, from 1970. Released in the US and in Canada. Never reissued on vinyl. This is a psychedelic pop masterpiece. In my opinion, go right up there with Sgt. Pepper and Pet Sounds and all those kind of psychedelic pop records. There's not a bad song on this one. This guy was called or named Philip Kinora. He was a British drummer for Graham Bond, and he also sat in when Keith Moon was injured on the Who concert. So very good drummer. But for this release, the only solo release that he did, he wrote songs and did it all by himself. It's just a mind-blowing record, and this sums up the reason why I collect records. I don't think that I would ever stumble upon that buying CDs or only listening to digital music. But this broadening my music palette. This is the reason why I keep buying these records, just hunting for new ways to get my senses. Yeah, you know the deal. The next one, Surrealistic Pillow by Jefferson Airplane. Classic record. A lot of people have it. I've wanted this for a while. Wanted a good sounding copy of this, and I actually found on an auction site on Facebook by a local guy actually here in my town. I got this for $8. It's a near mint first German press from 1967. It has a sticker there and some ringware on the cover, but the vinyl is in fantastic condition. And for $8, I couldn't say. I mean, yeah, just amazing. Also one of the really great psychedelic classics. Up there with Pet Sounds and Sgt. Pepper. And Odysseys and Oracles. Roswell Rudd, American trombonist, recorded 1965, released 1971 on American Records. You have John Chikai on alto saxophone, a guy called Finn von Eben on bass, and Luis Moholo on drums. And Luis Moholo was actually the reason why I bought this. I want to hear early recordings by Luis Moholo. The recording quality is not that good, but it's a free jazz record, which being a little bit earlier, 1967, it was interesting listening to it, and the drumming is really, really good. Swedish jazz, Börje Fredriksson, Fredriksson Special on Dragon Records. Börje Fredriksson was active between 1960 and 67, I guess. These are radio broadcastings from 60 to 65. 1966 he released Intervall, which is his masterpiece, one and only released record. Going for if you want the original release of that, it goes for a lot of money these days. It was reissued on Record Store Day 2 years ago and limited to 500 copies. And I think that I know that Anders has the first original release of that, but I think he also snagged the first one, the number one of the numbered reissues. I have that too, and it's a really, really good record. So this is more of a in-depth dive into the guy's few recorded music. And you have the who's who on here. Some of the recordings are from Gyllene Cirkeln, which were a place where Ornette Coleman and Hansen and Karlsson played. But there's also like Bobo Stensson is playing on a take here from 64. Now, Börje Fredriksson committed suicide in 1968. Very tragic, and regarded as one of the great tenor saxophonists in Sweden. Oriental Wind, live in der Belverhöhle, featuring Okej Tamis and Bobo Stensson from 1978. 1977, Okej Tamis released Oriental Wind, the black cover, the first record by Oriental Wind. And this has 4 of those 5 tracks. So I bought this mainly because I want to hear those tracks live, and there's a little bit of variations, but you can really hear the songs and the live take. It's a really, really cool live record. If you're interested in Oriental Wind, this is a must-have in my opinion. Cool to hear them with that live nerve. Cheers. I have to flip the record soon. And the last one, The Violence, live at the Star Club. The Violence is the background band for a guy called Jerry Williams here in Sweden. And it's one of those bands that tried to rip off the Beatles. So it's the Swedish equivalent of the Beatles with Rune Persson, Tony Lindberg, Billy Gustafsson, and another guy, Johnny. Now this is a bad record. It's got that honky-tonk kind of rock songs, blue suede shoes, and all that stuff. So why do I have this in my collection? Why am I showing this? I've had this since I was a little guy. When I inherited my father's LP and collection, and this is when I was maybe 8-10 years old, something like that, maybe earlier. And when he got the CD player, he didn't want his vinyl anymore, so I got them. I've had this since, and it's been in a box in my basement, but I've known about it. That was there, and I read the other day. I read Record Collector Dreams, the books that a guy released that showcases very, very rare and sought after records from all of the corners of the world. And the second book, I don't know when it was written, but in the second book, this was at the Swedish section. Now, this guy, it's so bad. This guy is amongst Trägräs och Stenar, International Harvester. It's on the same page as those records. Those records today goes for $200-300, and you can get that for maybe $40 or something like that. But back then, and this is a couple of years ago, or some years ago now, that record was valued higher than the Trägräs och Stenar record by that book. But I mean, it was written maybe 10 years ago. I don't know, maybe. So back then, is it possible that this record was rarer than a Trägräs och Stenar record? That this record gained more money when you sold it than a Trägräs och Stenar record? And now, 10 years later or whatever, it's just shifted. So in 10 years, what's going to happen then? Is Trägräs och Stenar not going to be a band that you want to collect anymore, and you want the Violence live at the Star Club again? I don't know, but it was just a funny observation, really. So that's it. Have a good day.